of the promised seed. But Isaac now grows up, and we see evidence that he is willing to obey God as well. Let's just take a look at some evidences here.
Genesis 24:66 and 67. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done, and Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
So you have Isaac following through in the choosing of his wife by the will of God. Okay? And so there's one indication, but there are other things that Isaac's life indicated that he would do what God told him to. Let's look at Genesis 26:1-6.
And there was a famine in the land, beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell of thee. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and I will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws, and Isaac dwelt in Gerar.
Okay, so he stayed in the land where he was in spite of the fact that there was a famine. Okay, the famine would indicate, okay, go someplace. But God tells him, no, stay here. And so he does. And he's saying now, he's saying, I will be with you, I will bless you, I will take care of you in spite of the difficulties, the physical difficulties you're facing. And again, he reiterates that promise that was given to Abraham that in his seed all the families of the earth would be blessed. So now he knows that he's not the one to be blessing everybody, because now it's through his seed. And he's saying, and God is saying, I'm giving you the same promise as I gave to Abraham. So now, I mean, when you think about it, we look at Abraham and Isaac, and then we look at Jesus, there's a lot of time that separates them. Mm-hmm. And God didn't say, oh, it's going to come in 1,500 years. He just said, it will be through your seed. Okay? So he's giving them something to look forward to in terms of blessing who?
All the families of the earth.
And so it's interesting because in the same promise you have, I will bless them that bless thee, and I will curse them that curse thee. So you sound like, okay, there's a dividing going on. And yet, the end of the promise says, I'll bless all the families of the earth. So the question you have to raise is, well, what about the ones that were cursed? Are they cursed and then are they blessed? How does that work? Stay tuned, we'll get to that. Okay, so the promise is restated here to Isaac. As we said, originally it may have looked like Isaac was the promised seed, but we know very clearly, the way it's restated, that it's not Isaac. So Isaac has, remember the two sons, the twins, Esau and Jacob? Mm-hmm. And remember, Jacob ends up getting the father's blessing.
Right.
Jacob was another one who in his adult life looked to God. And when he saw God's influence, when he was tuned into God's way, he was very, very, very obedient. Again, let's look at a couple of examples of Jacob's obedience and then his inheriting this promise as well.
Genesis 28:12-15. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it, and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. And the land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest. And I will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken of thee.
So again, you have the same promise being reiterated to Jacob. Now this is the third generation, Abraham, then Isaac, then Jacob. And Jacob sees in this dream this ladder going up to heaven, okay, with the angels ascending and descending upon it. And it is a symbol of God's willingness to be with him and work with him. So you have Jacob, the third generation, being given the exact same promise. And when something happens like that from generation to generation, you get the idea that it's kind of important. Because God is not just speaking it and then forgetting about it, but each generation it becomes renewed again and again. And Jacob is a very a strong individual, not only in character but physically. And at one point in his life, he literally wrestles to get God's blessing.
Genesis 32:24 through 29. Jesus was left alone, and an angel wrestled with him until daybreak. When the angel saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he struck him on the hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then the man said, "You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with humans and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him.
So you have a significant event here in the fact that Jacob's name is now changed to Israel. And of course, that's a very familiar name today, and it's no accident that that name and that nation continues to live on. Mm-hmm. It is no accident at all. So we have Abraham, we have Isaac, and Jacob. What do we have so far? What's changed from that original look at Adam and Eve and the sin and the original promise?
Well, the first point, God gave hope for the future even as sin was entering.
Okay, so there was hope for the future. Secondly, God gave a clear promise for the future to Abraham. We know through Galatians that the promise was pointing to Jesus, but for Abraham's sake, he was given and just told it was his progeny, his seed.
And God reiterated the promise to Isaac.
And then he again reiterated the promise to Jacob. So this promise has a clear and recurring theme. And that clear theme is all of the nations of the earth are to be blessed. Okay, so let's ask the question now. In the context of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this is early in world history here. We're not talking where you have billions and billions of people upon the earth. But when it says all of the nations to be blessed, who are they? You got to ask, is everybody included? When does qualification for this blessing begin? Does it begin after Jesus, or is it before Jesus? Is it after Abraham, or is it before Abraham? Is it before Noah? How do you know when the clock starts ticking for the inclusion of all the families of the earth? And folks, if you have a thought, it's 860-442-9956, 442-WXLM. So, Jonathan, has anything changed here? Let's look at the has anything changed.
Well, God is still dealing with those few faithful individuals.
And that's not a change.
Mm-mm.
And I think that that's something we're going to see recur throughout all of history. If you notice that the faithful individuals to God are simply that, individuals. Faithful individuals, small context, big world. Next point.
God revealing a lineage for his promise.
Okay. And again, that's not a change, but it's a little bit more clear. The details are still few and far between, but the clarity is beginning to open it up. So we have the same theme running, it's just that we have a little bit more detail. Now, the whole point of this is to get to the answering the question, whose sins did Jesus die for?
This is Jonathan and Rick with Christian Questions on News Talk 104.7 WXLM. Stay tuned.